Alright, let's get started. This is a response video to my main channel, Myargonauts. I recently asked subscribers and viewers to ask me questions, and I said I would make responses, and I am posting those responses over on my Myargonauts channel. I'll leave a link in the side. But I got a few that were movie questions and that were comic book questions, and I thought I would post them here because that's kind of where I talk about my more geeky side, and I kept the more Japan-related stuff on Myargonauts. So, this first one is going to be about comic books. If you're not really interested in comic books, the next 5 or 7 minutes will probably be kind of boring. But for those of you in the know that know how cool comic books are, and I'm talking about American comic books, not manga. Here we go. Alright, so the first one here is from Shadowcaster X. Hey Jason, nice to see a new video. I was just wondering what comics you have been reading in the few months you have been back in the US, and what would you recommend? So let's see, I think I can fold his question into another one. Yeah, Grey House asks, as a comic geek, what are you reading currently and why? Myself, the only thing I'm actively collecting and reading is Echo by Terry Moore. I missed out on the Strangers in Paradise. And rereading the Watchmen. Well, of course, every day is a good day to read Watchmen. Okay, so I think I can fold those two together and hold up some examples here. One comic I'm following every month is The Boys. It's kind of an interesting cover. This is the most recent issue. And The Boys is by Garth Ennis, who most of you will know from a comic book called The Preacher he did for Vertigo. And this is for an independent company called Dynamite. And it's fantastic, very good stuff, with Derek Robertson, who also did a Vertigo comic called Transmetropolitan. But Garth also did some very good runs of The Punisher, did a great series for mainstream DC called Hitman, so I have been a long-time fan of Garth. He's an Irish lad, and a good one. So The Boys. Something that just started again is one of my all-time favorite comics, all-time, is Groo. There's Groo, his faithful companion Roberto. And Groo, for those of you who don't know, you might have read Mad Magazine as a child. And Mad Magazine, in the little, like in the spaces in between and on the sides and in the margins, they had these little tiny, like literally like one-panel comic gags, and they were written by a man named Sergio Aragonés. So he draws Groo in a style that only he can. If you're ever at a comic book convention and Sergio is doing a panel, especially a panel where he's going to draw, and you can see him do it live, by all means go. It's amazing to watch the man work. He's a fantastic guy if you meet him in person. So nice, so kind to his fans. And the comic is lettered by Stan Sakai, who I'm going to get to in a minute, as a creator of Usagi Yojimbo. And written by Mark Evanier, who is a really good guy too. So I highly recommend Groo. This is the new one. It's called The Hogs of Horror, and it's a 4-issue mini out from Dark Horse. So, long-time Groo fan. One comic I'm trying out that's kind of brand new is called Haunt. You might recognize that cover. It's basically kind of an homage to himself, Seth MacFarlane. Different thing. Todd McFarlane, kind of a SpiderMan-esque cover there with his new character. But the main reason I picked this up, I really don't give two tosses about Todd McFarlane. I mean, I think he's an interesting guy, and he deserves his place in comic book history. He's obviously a fantastic artist, and he hasn't drawn for a long time, which is why this is getting some attention, because he is involved in the art somewhat. He is doing the inks. But the main reason I'm reading it is Robert Kirkman. Robert Kirkman is writing it, and he writes a comic book that I don't buy in single issue, but I buy every trade paperback, and that's called Invincibles. Not Invincibles, did I just misspeak? Invincible. And it's a great comic from Image, and it's about a superhero, but it's like one of the best superhero books on the market. So Invincible. He also does one called The Walking Dead about zombies, which I've never read, but I keep meaning to get that first trade paperback because I like his other work a lot. Oh, this is just another Boys cover I must have pulled out. Okay, echoing what one of the commenters wrote, I am reading Terry Moore's Echo. He created this comic book called Strangers in Paradise. which is a fantastic comic. He draws in black and white, and it's very crisp, clean art. Good stories. This story, the Echo story, to me is dragging out a bit. Sometimes I think he covers in one issue what could easily be covered in like half an issue. But overall, I really enjoy the book. I just love his art. His female characters are really strong and well written. So I recommend Echo. It's about up to issue 15 or 16 now. And you can get trade paperbacks at like 6 issues at a clip. Which is how I really read comics in Japan, is I would buy trade paperbacks, you know, from Amazon and get them either through amazonco.jp and not have to pay any shipping, or order them from America and pay a little bit of shipping. This is one I just picked up because I really wanted to reread this historic Superman story by Alan Moore. This is like all of Alan Moore's mainstream DC work in one graphic novel. And Alan Moore, for those of you who don't know, is probably the Shakespeare and Hemingway and Faulkner and everybody else of comics all rolled into one. An amazing comic book writer from England who wrote The Watchmen. Oh, here's just another issue of Echo. So I do like Brian Bendis. I read a lot of his books, not all of them, because I'm not into mainstream superheroes that much, but I do like his Spider-Man work. He did a comic for many years called Ultimate Spider-Man. And so this is them kind of rebranding it and starting it out. This was the first issue, so it's just started again. I don't like the art as much as I liked Bagley's art, but you know, it's manga-esque, I guess you could call it that. And it's very colorful. And who is it? I should give him La Fuente is the artist. I'm not really that familiar with what he did before this, but it's very serviceable art. He's a decent storyteller, but basically I buy it for the dialogue for Brian Bendis. So Brian Bendis has written many things over his career, but I will show you the other thing that I'm going to plug for him, and that's Powers. Huge Powers fan. Powers is a crime comic. Lots of word balloons, often. Done by him and Mike Avon Oming. I've met the guy at conventions. I'm not sure how to say his last name. He does this great letters page, which is a rarity in comics nowadays with the internet in the back of the book. And again, I read him in trade paperback form mostly, but I still get the comic, the single comic too, mostly because of the letters column. Okay, what else am I going to recommend? I still read some mainstream stuff. I tried to keep up with Batman for a long time, but then something happened, and don't explain it to me in the comments, but basically he died, maybe, I don't know, if he's really gone. Anyway, this is just, I was looking through some old comics the other day, and this is just one of my favorite covers, just because right down there. That'd be great if this ends up being my thumbnail for the YouTube video. But, so I do like to read Batman stories, and I buy the trade paperbacks from time to time. This was written by Judd Winnick, who, if you want to go out and really treat yourself to something fun this Christmas, maybe I'll put a link to it in the side. Find Judd Winnick's Oni Press comic, The Adventures of Barry Ween, Boy Genius. And I think you can get like a 1-volume trade paperback that's all of miniseries put together. It is hysterical, really funny stuff, very 18 and over, R-rated stuff, but really funny about this 11-year-old super genius. Written and drawn by Judd, who was a character on The Real World San Francisco. Like that's like the 3rd season a million years ago. Anyway, great funny stuff. Oni Press. So Oni Press is my favorite independent publisher. There's their logo. And this was a recent, well, not even that recent, trade paperback that I just found in my box of comics as I was looking through. And I reread by Jamie Rich, who's a friend of mine, and Joelle Jones, good artist. She's really got some really fine line work. So I like their stuff. Again, usually through trade paperback. And lastly, I'll plug Usagi Yojimbo, which, of course, if you're watching this channel and into Japan and into comics, you better be reading Usagi Yojimbo, one of the best comics of all time. I love this little Lego Usagi on the back. But again, Black and White Art by Stan Sakai delves deeply into Japanese mythology and ideas, and you know, all, is it anthropomorphized? I can't say that word. Where you take, you know, humans and you turn them into animals, so all the characters are rabbits and rhinos and cats and foxes and everything else. But good stuff, and you can easily buy it in trade paperback. He's now with Dark Horse, and I don't even know what number he's on. I think he's getting close to 100. I think that was all your comic book questions. Let me quickly scan here. Dun dun dun. I just knew that I would talk forever about comics, so everything else I think is here is movies and Star Wars. So I'll do those in another vlog. But yeah, get out to the comic book store and read some comics. Okay? Peace.